in the prior chat, we were talking about AI agents. And I think AI agents are really interesting. It comes up a lot in commerce as well. But one of the biggest problems about AI agents is it has an oracle problem. Like, so where's the truth of data that you are building this AI agent off of, which is another use case and another reason is why you need to tokenize information. So that way, when you build AI agents, you're building it based off of verifiable, authenticated data in chain of custody. Yeah.
I love when we talk about how this stuff is going to work in the future, but the same question comes up. Doesn't matter if we're talking about IoT, it doesn't matter if it's telco, like it doesn't matter. Privacy is a big deal. And I think privacy and security kind of go hand in hand. I would love to have an AI agent tell me exactly what I'm going to wear tomorrow based on the RF tags on my clothes, but I don't want anybody to know what else is in my closet. How do we get to the point where we are able to not only tokenize things, but also obfuscate what one individual may or may not have?
I have I don't want to contradict you because it's not a contradiction, but I have a slightly different point of view. And I don't think it's trust, I think it's value. And I think it's also like perceived value, right? Because I don't know that anybody here necessarily trusts Meta with your data, but you all use Instagram or Facebook. I use this example ad nauseum, and so forgive me if you've heard this before, but when Cambridge Analytica had that issue, you had people from Instagram saying like, I'm never using my Facebook ever again. Same company, so it's like it's the same issue, but there's enough value that consumers get from having their posting on there, sharing on there, et cetera. So what I think the value, the reason why I say the value element, of course, there's you need basic trust, obviously, but it's permissioned. Permission value or permissioned interest, right? So I'm willing to share data if I get to participate in the value creation, or you have some sort of perception of what my data contributes to the network. So that's how we think about it in a NIFMIT context is, hey, if you don't want to earn for wearing, no problem, just don't share your information. Anybody who has an iPhone out right here, every single one of your apps is tracking you in the background, right? We just know that. That's just happening. You might turn it off and then you come on and you're using it. So I think the biggest problem isn't necessarily the trust side of it, though trust is important. It's the perception of value that you get. That's what I think is one of the really interesting things about DePIN is that you can say, hey, there's a value exchange here, and if you think the value exchange is adequate, then go ahead and participate in the network.
See, I see it as both sides of the same coin. You can't have value without the trust, and you can't have trust.
That's why I said I'm not contradicting.
Right?
It's just like a slight.
Yeah, it's a nuance. I mean, look, why is a dollar bill worth something, arguably, whatever that is, and a piece of monopoly money not worth something? They're both ink on paper.
Go ahead, Jonathan. You got something? Go ahead.
We have...
I was going to say the military-industrial
Right, the military-industrial complex. Yeah, that's right. The petrodollar. It's the shared fiction that everyone agrees that this form of design on this type of paper with this type of ink issued by this institution is actually the real currency, whereas the board game Monopoly money is not, right? And so, I read the book Sapiens years ago, and it was really interesting deep dive into the psyche of human group psychology around the agreements that we make. Why is 12 o'clock noon, 12 o'clock noon, right? We all agree that it means the same thing, right? So how do you anchor those proof points to bring the trust together with the value simultaneously? And that's the amazing thing about the current state of technology and where it's going, is you're able to actually do that.
And I would expand on both sides. You nailed what you said. And I think where we might have started was using using technology to enable trust. But even the process that you talked about in choice gives trust. Right? There's trust in my ability to now have a choice on what I'm doing with my data or tokenization or any of the things that we're talking about here. The other thing that was interesting that you talked about when we said proofs is that we're very much looking at proofs in binary form. a one-to-one proof that I've proven this thing to execute this process and an outcome. But where I think we're also going is a mesh of proofs. So you end up building a trust profile based off of a plethora of proofs that you have done in a multitude of transactions, which means now you have a trust over you as an individual among all this different transaction that you've done. It doesn't mean that anything critical is exposed. It means that you are now a trusted individual to work with for a multitude of things. And so I think you'll end up growing a profile in this way as well, without exposing any critical data of who you are, what the transactions were, what occurred there, but it was simply that you had a proven trusted transaction.
And to add to that, it's not just a single point of trust, it's how your trust interacts with other trust. And compounded and compounded and compounded, and it's not like a centralized source of that either. So that's what makes that so interesting. It's like not just how you interact with one network or one individual, it's across everything and compounding that.
All right, now talking about DePINs here, why is tokenization important for the stuff that we do? Because I think, to me, there's a little bit of uncertainty when I'm buying a token. Like, okay, great, I'm mine geoed, right? That token, does that represent the value in the company itself, or is it just a speculative token? A lot of times we just don't know what things are. So where does tokenization fall when it comes to DePINs?
Yeah, the fungible to non-fungible definitely makes a difference. The thing that fascinates me the most about crypto is the fact that it's programmable. That's really, and that's at the end of the day, that's what we're all talking about. So you have fungible that's programmable, you have non-fungible that's programmable. So you're talking about programmable money. That's why JP Morgan's coin is really interesting for them. Is they can do cross-border payments and reconcile within their own groups with their own stable currency. When you think about an NFT or a non-fungible, is you are programming at the product level, which has never been done before. When you talk about analog and digital, I like to disagree with the fact that we live in a digital world. Honestly, what I like to say is that we just consume things on digital devices, but a lot of things that happen just takes place strictly on that digital device. So to make this as simple for everybody else is, if you bought a handbag and you went to an e-commerce site, what's programmable in that whole process is the header page, the product display page, the checkout page. At no point is the bag itself programmable. When you create a digital twin of something, or you essentially tokenize, now you're creating a programmable product at a product level. So that's the way you can think about it from a brand, a retail consumer context. It's the same thing with money. Is you're actually programming at the money level, not at the system that's transferring the money. So that becomes very interesting. That allows for a lot more utility throughout.